So Gravik comes right out with his plan to use the Super Skrulls to fight Earth's heroes, which wasn't really news to anyone, but I did make a theory video specifically about how he might replicate the powers of the original Super Skrull from Fantastic Four. This video has major spoilers, so if you've gotten this far after looking at the thumbnail and title, I don't want to hear complaints about spoilers, because this episode reveals who the Skrull betrayer of Fury is. This episode is called Betrayal, which refers both to Gaia betraying Gravik and the Skrull rebels, as well as Fury's wife Priscilla, aka Vara, and probably Rhodey betraying Fury for Gravik. So we learn that Gaia has been feeding Talos information since episode 1. I wasn't too sure in episode 2, but she is definitely on Fury's side. Now, why she changed allegiances, we don't know for sure, but we can assume it's probably because Gravik is responsible for her mother's death. The big conflict in this episode in which Gaia becomes useful is that Gravik is once again attempting to start World War III by using some of his agents, one of them being a submarine captain, to launch a missile from the sub at a UN aircraft. Now, how many of you remember the ending of X-Men First Class? Sebastian Shaw, the mutant of the Hellfire Club, wanted to start World War III by having Emma Frost use telepathy to control the crew members of a Russian battleship and an American battleship next to Cuba, have them fire on each other in order to start the next war. Of course, Charles Xavier is able to stop them. Yeah, Secret Invasion definitely didn't rip that off. But Fury and Talos are able to stop it, but Gaia getting that information required her to expose herself as a spy for Talos, so she has to leave the Skrull compound, and she dies. Gravik straight up kills her after catching her. He doesn't question her, he doesn't torture her, he just shoots her. And it seems like this happened too fast in the series, like we didn't get enough time to know Gaia as a character. Assuming that the writers actually follow through on their own plot threads, Gaia's death is going to have huge consequences for the series. Because in this episode, Talos meets with Gravik to get him to try and stop the war, and gets really angry when Gravik tells him that he should be lucky that Gravik hasn't sent Gaia's body to him in a body bag. In fact, Talos threatens Gravik and tells him that he's going to expose the Skrulls to everyone, meaning the entire Earth. If that actually happens, that would obviously screw up Gravik's plans because he wants humanity to defeat themselves, not for humanity to unite against the Skrulls. But I think we could see a finale with a similar final battle to what we saw at the end of Captain America the Winter Soldier, but still very unlikely that we'll see anything resembling the battle in the Secret Invasion comic. Also, during the same scene, it's revealed that Gravik has already given himself Extremis. So I wonder what other powers he has, and more importantly, why he didn't kill Talos. Gravik is obviously willing to sacrifice some Skrulls to win this war, and he's made it very clear that he no longer holds respect for Talos and his methods. So why not kill him? It makes perfect narrative sense. The only reason they would keep Talos around is so that the writers can use him and maybe kill him off towards the end of the series for shock value. But now that we've gone through that, I'm sure you guys want to know about Fury's wife and Rhodey. Alright, so in a flashback, we learn that Vara, the Skrull from episode 2, is living as a black woman at the time of 1998, and that she's working as one of Fury's agents. Interestingly, she gives him information that she believes will keep Dreykov's men on their heels. You know, the villain of the Black Widow film who controlled the Red Room and all that. Now, this is a fairly benign Easter egg, as one, the only events we know that would have taken place around this time period would be Natasha Romanoff training in the Red Room and Dreykov meeting with President Clinton. And two, obviously we know from the Black Widow film that Dreykov was still operating in 2016 and he was stronger than ever. So obviously Vara's information wasn't that useful. But we also get another fairly important reveal about Fury's past given to us by an angry Talos. In the events of Captain Marvel, Fury was a desk jockey at S.H.I.E.L.D. And the only reason that he stopped being a desk jockey, the only reason that he climbed the ranks to become the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. was apparently because of the Skrull agents. It was because of the information that they got for him that nobody else could get, because of the terrorist attacks they stopped. Sure, Fury is a smart and capable guy, but everything we thought we knew about Fury, everything that made characters in the MCU respect Fury, is really because of the Skrulls. That if you think about it, Fury's only lasting accomplishment in all his years of service was the creation of the Avengers, which really was only set in stone after the death of Coulson. Is anyone else sick and tired of Nick Fury just constantly being put down? Every single episode, we have to hear about how Fury sucks, how he's always been worthless apparently. You thought Fury was a badass spy? Well, actually, the Skrulls created that illusion. Maybe all the weird race comments that Fury has made aren't because the Raiders were injecting their personal politics into the series, but because they wanted Fury to look bad, in which case, bravo. And let's add on even more, because Nick Fury was also a bad husband. His Skrull wife, who believed in his promise about finding the Skrulls a new homeworld, also mourned his death during the blip, and when he came back, he immediately went to his space station and left her behind. These two things, Fury reneging on his promise and being an absent husband, seem to have led Priscilla or Vara to side with Gravik. How deep she is with the rebels, we don't know yet. How much influence she has on Gravik and the rebels, we don't know yet. Because here's something interesting to consider. Vara is the one who introduced Gravik to Fury. From what we saw, Gravik seemed somewhat emotionally repressed as a kid, which makes sense given that his parents died during the Kree-Skrull War and he escaped from behind enemy lines. But he trusted Vara enough to share that information with her, and he allowed her to introduce him to Fury knowing that she was going to volunteer him as an agent. So the question is, how much influence does Vara have on Gravik? Did Gravik see Vara as a mother figure, and in turn Fury as a father figure, given that Fury and Vara were married at some point and at least had started dating around 1998? My opinion on Gravik from episode 1 to episode 3 has definitely changed. I thought there was more to him. I thought he was a deep thinker, that he was calculating, but this episode revealed him to be just a thug.
I choose blood all day long.
Gravik is an angry child who became a warmongering thug. So now knowing that, and knowing that Vara probably has ties to the rebel group, I have to wonder if there's actually someone else pulling the strings. If there's someone who inspired Gravik to do all this, who lit a spark under his ass and set him loose. Because that's really what it feels like. Gravik is like a hungry dog. Somebody had him caged up, starving, and then set him loose. It wasn't Fury, even though Gravik's anger is directed toward him. It's not Talos. There was a mention in episode 2 of an Emperor Drogue and his Skrull colony. Emperor Drogue is a character from the comics after all, and someone instrumental in the Secret Invasion story. Now, he wasn't an emperor, but he was the head scientist of the Skrull Empire who figured out how to make Super Skrulls. Now, could Drogue be a Thanos-like figure who is controlling everything behind the scenes? Also, what about the council members who we don't know much about yet? Especially the British PM. She seemed to have been in line with Gravik from the very start. We'll have to wait for the next couple of episodes to have any of those questions answered, including how far in Vara is. But probably the most interesting part of this episode is that when Vara tries to contact Gravik, Rhodey answers the phone. She says, "I need to speak with Gravik," and he says, "Yeah, while you're talking to me," and asks her to meet at a church. Now, from the trailers, we know that Fury goes to a graveyard. Is that somehow connected to this church they're going to? Is that like a secret meeting spot between them? But then why would she be talking to Gravik if this is a place connected to Fury? So technically, we didn't see Rhodey actually transform into a Skrull, but I think it's safe to say that Rhodey, or at least the Rhodey that we've seen who works alongside the president, is in fact a Skrull agent. And this is just my theory, but I think Rhodey could have a bigger place in all this rather than just being an agent for Gravik. Like maybe he's the one who sent Gravik on the world. Maybe he is Emperor Drogue or some other similarly influential figure. After all, in the Secret Invasion comic, Queen Varanki, the leader of the Skrulls who led the secret invasion of Earth, was on the front lines herself. She took the form of Spider-Woman, someone that the Avengers would trust, and which would make the betrayal all the bigger. And even though Fury and Rhodes aren't on the best of terms, it would still be a kick in the balls for Fury. Because even now, I have to believe Fury still thinks that Rhodey would back him up when shit really hit the fan. Now, I could have milked this episode and made several theory videos, which I still might. But for now, this is what we know. These are my theories. I'd love to hear your guys' theories, and feel free to tell me that you think mine are ridiculous, but put all those in the comment section. As always, if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. Thanks for watching.